Alright, good afternoon everyone. Today is Thursday, January 5th, 2012. I'm going to go over the trades that we took this morning in the live trading room, the trades that set up, the trades that didn't set up, why we took them and why we didn't take them. Alright, I'm going to start out here on the 4-tick range. I will scroll over here. I took this trade. I lost 2 points, minus 56 ticks, 2 points. Okay, I missed both of these trades right in here. And when these trades were setting up, everything was working fine right here for me. Alright, so we opened up the day, going a little bit sideways here, but we did have a trade set up that pulled back up to the BBC right here, but we didn't have a fresh bubble for it. So we did not have a trade set up on the 4-tick range. Then as we approached the weekly trading zone, we were saying we're not going to trade into the weekly trading zone. We had to wait until the BBC got at least halfway through the trading zone. Then in here is where I had a problem. While I had the problem, the charts were still running and we still had a moderator in the room. Dwayne came on and Bert was in the room as well. And this trade setup had happened. Now we had a nice even pullback here. I'll slide these. These are the rules right here. Okay, you get a higher or lower swing pivot, which we got. The BBC was outside the box. The box is the dotted line up here, which it was. We had a fresh bubble down here. The red bands outside the black bands right here. Okay, we had a fresh bubble. And the pullback to the BBC must be clean. No high or low pivots or low or high pivots. We didn't have any high or low pivots in here. There were no more pivots. It was just a nice clean pullback to the BBC. So the entry was right here. It's enter with an MIT order rounding the BBC up to the nearest tick or down to the nearest tick, depending on which way you're trading. In this case, you would have been rounding down from 63. Okay, so you would have gotten in at 62.75. Your risk would have been up at 64.75 up here, and your target would have been right over here. Okay, at 60.75. So the entry was right there, and it dropped down for the 2-point gain. Easy. Now that was followed up right here by another lower swing pivot. You see, this one is lower than this one. So the pullback up here would have been okay because you had a fresh bubble down here for another entry. The way that I do it, I would move my stop to break even after we had 1 point profit in the trade, so I would have gotten stopped out at break even on this trade. And that is what that trade would have done. Now I had finally gotten back on right in here, and we had a fresh bubble right here. Okay, right here we had this fresh bubble, and price pulled away from the BBC, pulled the BBC outside the box. You see the dotted line in there. It pulled the BBC outside the box, and it started to pull back down to the BBC right here, but it didn't actually touch the BBC. And then it disqualified by putting in this area right in here. We needed a higher swing after that, which we did get. We got the higher swing right here. We still had a fresh bubble to take the trade, so it pulled back to the BBC. We went long right there. Unfortunately, the long trade just stopped us out right down here. Okay, so we lost 2 points on that trade, and then the market went sideways for a long time. It seemed like this period right in here, it seemed like lasted a really long time. And then right as we were shutting down the morning session, it started to move outside of that range that it was in. It popped up off the weekly trading zone here and kept moving. Now, I'm going to point out over here on the 10K, this is a 10,000 contract chart. Right in here, this is where that other pullback was that won on the 4-tick range. It was right here. This right here is where the one that lost was. Alright. Now you can see we've moved over here like this. Just a second. We moved over here like this, and we popped up above right here a little bit. You see. And we didn't pull all the way back down to the BBC here, though. That was the problem. We never pulled all the way back down to the BBC. Okay. On the 2100, I want to point out the same setups that we had on the 4-tick range. It pulled back in right here. We didn't take a short trade over here because at the time we had support right here on the 10K. Alright, so we weren't doing the 2100 trade there. Over here, this was a valid 2100 trade setup, right in here. I didn't take it, it was during the break, but it came together. Came together just right, and right here as well. Right here on the 4-tick range, that was also a valid trade setup. Right there. And that, you would have been entering that at 69.25. Yeah, 69.25, and 71.25 would have been your profit target. And it just made it, the 2 points right there. So that is the morning trading on the ES. Now yesterday I had mistakenly referred to charts that you guys could see in here, but that were not being recorded when I was referring to them. So I'm not going to make that mistake today. Right now I'm going to flip over to the YM here quickly, and we'll go over what was going on there. Okay. There was a trade in here that Dwayne had taken right here when I was out with my technical difficulties. Dwayne took a short right in here on the YM. It ended up going for 40 points. I think he ended up getting a point out of it. He moved his stop up to break even plus a point, I think, and ended up getting a point out of that. As we passed through the BBC here, on the pullback down here to the BBC, we were too close to the weekly trading zone to be able to take the long trade, so no trade was given there. On this one right here, when we had suggested if you were going to be taking the trade, the MA1 was very close, so you wanted to wait until it got down below the MA1. That's what I was thinking anyway. But I didn't like the trade all that much right here, because between here and here there were only 11 ticks, so I wasn't going to risk 7 to make 11 on the YM. Alright, we didn't take any trades over there. Right now you can see this is the first pullback down to the BBC, and we have some divergence. We've had a bullish cross over here of the DMT. Bullish cross, I mean a cross into the envelope with a green trend strength line, suggesting a big move up, and it actually already happened. It went right up to the next zone. We just traded zone to zone there in the YM. There would be no trade here on the YM because the zone's right up above us like that. Okay. One other thing worth pointing out is over here the DMT on the 10K. When we pierced the envelope here, it suggested we were going to have a 5 to 6 point move up to 70, and we got up to 71. Over here, we pierced the envelope way over here at 65, suggesting a 3 to 5 point move, and that actually went much better than that, 16 points from there. Let's see, that is all that we have for the ES and for the YM. Now let me bring over the 6E, and I just want to go over a few things on the 6E that I showed this morning. Charles, if you're in here, I'm not sure if you are. You probably are. Let me just check and see. Nope, that Charles isn't here. Anyway, the setup this morning that we spoke about was right in there at 98, and it dropped down to 86. From there, it's just been chop. Okay, there hasn't been anything else that we could do since then on the 6E. But this morning's setups on the 6E, there was one right there. Let me scroll back. There was a short right in here. And we're going back into the pre-market right now when the 6E was active. Actually, I didn't mark anything up in there. But there was one right here. There was a short right in there. Another short right here. And just looking to see if there were any more in here that I didn't mark up. It was a long right here. Now, it looks like these don't go all that far, but this one was 28.47 up to 28.54 for a 7-tick move. That's almost equivalent to 2 points in the ES. Alright. Right in here at 8:30 in the pre-market. And then these are all the other ones that had happened. Alright, that's the 6E. And we can go over that some more in the partners meeting tonight for all the partners if you guys want to look at that. I imagine Jeff's going to be in the partners meeting tonight. I'm not sure, but I imagine he will be. On the Russell, just go back. Well, I don't want to go too far back, but just keeping it in today. All right, you see down here we're at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, with everything going up in the blue on the bottom. The pullback to the MA1 was right there. Everything going down in the red on top. The pullback to the MA1 was right there. This is a 10-tick range chart for the Russell 2000. Okay, right here was a long trade that didn't work. Right, that would have been a loss of 8 ticks right there. And that's pretty much all there's been so far this morning on the Russell 10-tick range. Okay, now you could do the Russell 10-tick range a little closer to the way that the 6E is done, but I was just trying to keep it really, really simple and have as few indicators as possible on the chart for that particular setup. Okay, so now we've covered the YM, the 6E, the Russell, and the ES. If anybody has any questions, let me open up my little question box here. Question box. Hold on. Okay, that's something else. Something else. Alright. So nobody has any questions related to what I've just gone over. So I'm gonna wrap up the recording right here, and then if you guys type in any more questions, I can still answer them. Okay, but I'm gonna wrap up the recording right here. All right. So the results of this morning's trade: we lost 2 points with 7 contracts. That's 56 ticks. Okay, that's what we have from the morning session. All right. I guess I should add the swing trade. The swing trade gave 13 points profit with only about 3 ticks drawdown from our entry toward our target. It missed our target by about 2 points, 2 or 3 points, but we did send out an alert when it was up at about up about 10 points, suggesting take profit or reduce your risk. Okay. Right now, if you were still in the trade right now, you'd be just about break even, a little better than break even right now. All right. On that, I am going to wrap up the recording.